Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about retiring on a cruise ship. Can you really do that?
Yeah, we have long thought of doing this, and so we thought let's do a little test run and see what it would be like for us to retire on a cruise ship. So that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, and it's something that's actually been in the news quite a bit here lately because there are a couple of companies who have jumped on the idea of basically having permanent residences for people on cruise ships who are essentially just doing perpetual world cruises. And you can do, depending on the company, you can do varying commitments. So we decided we'd give this a trial run.
Yeah, so instead of just going in and spending a lot of money on one of these, we thought let's do 45 days first. And after that 45 days, we'll have a better idea of what it would feel like to do this and if we would really like that. Because while we've done a lot of cruising over our lifetime, it's always been 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, then a month break, and then another 7 days. And things are very different after day 7, 14 versus day 30, day 40, day 100. So we thought we better figure that out before we make a big commitment. So here's how our trial run kind of went.
So we booked, it was 5 cruises, so we were changing ships. And the last 2 of the 5 cruises were actually transatlantic crossings. So that gave us, we wanted to have one kind of big chunk. We've done 21 days before, so this was going to be a little bit longer than we had done on a cruise ship before. So that was kind of our thought process, to kind of be on the ship for a really long time so we could really get the feel of what it would actually be like.
And there were a lot of pros to this, some things that we really loved about this from our normal life. And the first thing is that everything is taken care of for you.
It's so nice to know that basically you have a staff available all day. You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, you don't have to figure out entertainment. It's basically all right there for you, on the ship, and you don't really have to make a ton of choices other than if you're going to, which restaurant you're going to go to dinner in.
And it's an all-in-one price too, so everything's included. You don't have utilities, you don't have all the little things that you're going to pay for in a house. Another thing just in our travel life, that since we don't have a house anymore, is that we realized you do save a ton of money, because when you get rid of your house, you don't buy Halloween decorations every year, you don't buy Christmas decorations, you don't buy flowers for in the spring. You would not believe, sit down and think about in a year how much money you spend on things that you would not buy if you lived on a cruise ship. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. So not only are you saving money up front, you're saving all those little things. And when you get off in ports, you're not going to buy knickknacks because you don't have anywhere to put them. So we spend so much less money while we travel than we did when we had a house, because we were always buying souvenirs.
Yeah, the other great thing too, the other pro here, is that you don't have to pay for hotels. You don't have to pay for transportation, flights to get from one place to another if you're traveling. That's all included here. And then the other great bonus is not having to constantly unpack. So you can travel to different places without having to pack up your bag each time, move it to the next place, unpack it, pack it up, move it to the next place. That's such an added bonus.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's one thing, that if you're living on the same ship, and a lot of people, there's different ways you can do this. A lot of people will say, I'm just going to be on the same ship and I'm going to be on that ship year round. You could also do like we did and string a bunch of different cruises and cruise lines together. That's a lot more work. For a few reasons, I kind of like that one a little bit more. It gives you a little bit more variety, which we'll get into in a minute here. But you still don't have to unpack very much, because you're really just not bringing that much with you on your cruise. And it will allow you to downsize, to sell your house, sell a lot of your possessions, and just declutter your life immensely, which has been great for us. We do talk about all that a lot on our finance channel, how we sold everything and we're just traveling the world now. But that is a great feeling of freedom.
Yeah.
So I do recommend that, whether you're going to spend your time on a cruise ship or just
or not.
traveling the world.
And that is the thing, is that you can travel the world, and this is the cruising is a perfect way to do that. I mean, we use it and we travel full time. We are on cruises all the time because we do still enjoy them. And I think, being able to travel the world is one of the beautiful things about cruises, because it's not just going to the Caribbean. There are cruises that go literally all around the world. And so, like Rob said, you can choose to either be on a ship that's literally just traveling around the world, or you can choose a bunch of different cruise lines and travel to whatever destinations you prefer or want to go to.
Yeah, so this is cost effective depending on your situation and where you're from. We spent about $5,000 per month doing this, and that's a pretty good average of what I think it would cost if you were doing this on your own and just kind of stringing cruises together. So our cheapest and most cost-effective cruises, they're always going to be the transatlantics. The next most cost-effective is the Trans-Pacific. But so for the transatlantic, we were paying $1,400 for a 14-night cruise, and so that was coming in at about $100 a night or $3,000 a month. But we did some other ones that were a little more. The week-long cruises, your average per night is going to go up, so that's going to make it more in the $5,000 per month range. So it's a little more than we have to spend just traveling the world, but still cost effective compared to what we were spending when we were maintaining a large suburban home in Atlanta, and we were spending more than $5,000 a month to do that and to live, to get our meals, utilities, all that stuff, HOA fees, like I mentioned before, decorations, all that stuff just eats you up.
It does. It does add up really quickly, so that does make a huge difference. Even if you get just decorations for your door, that's way less than getting blow-ups for your Halloween decorations, or your lights for your Christmas decorations and stuff like that. The other pro, before we head into the cons, is that you do get to meet a lot of really interesting people along the way. So I think that that's a really good bonus as well of retiring on a cruise ship.
We meet tons of people on every cruise.
We do.
So that's a great pro for us. There are some cons though with doing this, and some of these cons started to creep up a little bit as we were on the cruise ships a little bit longer. You started like, oh, I don't love this, I don't love that. First thing for me was that the food would get repetitive, and I think it's pretty important to get that figured out and get it right, because you don't want to be in a situation where you don't love the food and you're on something for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, it really does kind of get to you after a while. You're like, oh, I already know I've got to choose from this thing or this thing at the buffet for lunch. So it's just, it does get a little bit old when you don't have, when you're in a home on your own, or, you're in your own apartment or whatever. You get to choose what you want to eat, or like us here, we're in Thailand right now filming this. You get to choose whatever it is that you want. Someone isn't saying, oh, here are your options. That's it. You get to choose from this. So that is kind of a little bit, challenging at times. Another one is the lack of connectivity with family and friends on dry land. It can get a little bit, you miss out on some things, and it gets a little bit kind of, you start to feel like you're missing out on some things, which you are.
Yeah, and then a lack of connectivity online is another problem that we started to experience, was the frustration of just having really slow or almost non-existent internet when you're crossing the Atlantic. Can be troublesome for people because you're still trying to do things, still trying to talk to people or be entertained or whatever it is you're trying to do. It is frustrating, and sometimes when we get back on land after being on a cruise, we're like, oh, finally I can do everything I wanted to do. And that's fine for 7 or 14 days, but if you're doing that for 100 days, it can be a little bit more frustrating than you would think. And then you're going to miss out on some things too. Normal things like going to the movies or live sporting events. And another big one for us was we started to crave cooking our own meals. Like, there were meals the food was pretty good on all the ships, but there are things that you make that you're going to miss because you just can't make anything anymore.
Right. Just kind of think about, some of those dishes that you enjoy making or enjoy eating, and you're not going to be able to do those on the ship. Now, we did find that they did celebrate holidays on the ships. We've done Thanksgiving on the ship before. We've done Christmas on the ship before. And so they do provide, the meals, the appropriate meals for us as Americans on the ships. But, you do miss out on cooking if it's something you enjoy. Some people are like, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to ever think about cooking again. But if you're like me and you do like to cook, it is something that you will miss out on.
So I think of the two ways you can do this, which is just living on the same ship or being on the same ship over and over and over versus kind of switching up your ship, I would vote for switching up the ship because it does offer you that variety. And that's what we realized we were missing. Now, if you found the perfect ship for you, like of all the ones we were on recently, I think the longer you're on a cruise ship, the more these little things matter, like the TV channels or the internet speed or the variety of the food. Those things matter more if you're going to be on a ship for 100 days, because one of our cruises, our long ones, we were on it and the food got kind of old to us after about day 5, and it was a long 10 next days because we were just kind of dreading the food. The TV channels were pretty terrible. And this is different than when people say, well, you don't go on a cruise for TV. Well, this is your life now. So you're trying to catch your favorite sporting event. You're trying to catch up on whatever it is you want to watch. If your internet and your TV doesn't work, and it does depend on different people. Maybe you just like to read, that won't matter. But it does make a difference for a lot of people. And so, like, we found out the Oasis of the Seas was one of the best ships. I could live on that ship. Or the Virgin ships, I could live on that ship for a long, long time. Unfortunately, those ships would be pretty expensive to do that on. And so you have to choose your ship carefully. That's why it's best to do a 14 night trial run on the ship you're thinking about spending 100 days on, to make sure you can live with those items for that period of time.
Yeah, so it's very important to look at like food reviews and internet capabilities, like do they have Starlink? Do they have capabilities for faster service? Because
Right.
even on the crossings on the ships that we've had Starlink in the middle of the Atlantic, absolutely no problem. We could stream things, which was absolutely amazing. But on ones where we didn't have Starlink, you could barely open up your email. So it was, it can be very challenging. And then the other thing is, of course, what channels, like Rob said, channels that are offered on board, if you want to try to catch up. I mean, even on one of the cruise ships we were on, I remember somebody saying specifically, it was like during the NBA playoffs or something, and his team was in it. And I remember this guy saying, oh, the internet's not fast enough. I can't get my game, and they're not playing it anywhere. And then later he discovered they were actually playing the game in one of the sports pubs. So he was pretty excited about that. But you have to watch out for things like that and read the reviews on the ships and be more, diligent in your work in looking at these ships, because it is so important what ship you're going to spend your time on. It's going to make a huge difference in your overall retirement experience. I mean, the idea is you're retiring on this ship, right? So you want to be comfortable. You don't want to have a bunch of hassles. You want good staff. You want good food. This isn't like, a unicorn idea. This is actually a concept. There are actually ships out there that offer everything that you particularly want, and you just have to find that ship.
So at the end of the day, we did this 45 days and we came to some conclusions. What did we decide about doing this long term?
We think that we are not going to do this like long term over and over. I think we're just going to continue to throw cruising into our full travel lifestyle on a regular basis, because we do really still enjoy cruising. It's just cruising for that long, we probably won't do that again, right?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there were too many things we were missing by anchoring ourselves to a ship. So we just want to do it when we want to do it, and then spend a month or two on land, and then go back and do more cruising. We will probably keep using it as our means to travel around the world. Transatlantics, Trans-Pacifics, world cruises, way better than flying.
Oh, absolutely, hands down. So these are some things to consider if you've been seeing all those articles and seeing all those, news stories about people retiring on cruise ships. It is something that is feasible. It is something that you can do, but you do have to take these things into consideration and see if they would work for you. What are you thinking? Do you think you would try this out? Leave us your questions and your ideas down in the comments, and we'll see you guys next time.